SpongeBob's best friend.
Let me know if it's too loud for
We
you
see
guys.
him eating absurd amounts of food that could solve world hunger easily. Somehow managing to buy sweets, and that time he even had the luxury of wasting a few dollars when he buys the toilet plunger from Mr. Krabs at his garage sale.
$5. I've only got 7. Deal.
Within all the questions about Patrick's questionable lifestyle and his lack of brain cells, there is one big doubt. And that's, how does he have money if he doesn't work?
Yeah, would you please?
We need to find where the funds for his expenses come from and solve this mystery that doesn't let me rest at night. We need to analyze his economic status based on his assets, which of course are practically
bro
none.
got a house.
Well, at least he doesn't live in rock bottom, which is like the scariest hood in Bikini Bottom. He lives under a rock in the same neighborhood with SpongeBob and Squidward. Clearly not the richest
My head
house in the
said shit,
suburbs,
so
since well,
it sounded like
it's
he
just
said
a rock, so I
Gary's
guess it
hood.
doesn't count as an asset. In one of the first episodes of the show, when in a tragic
Yo.
event, the pineapple where
They
SpongeBob
built the
lives is
house
consumed by
together?
nematodes.
Hey, SpongeBob, your house is gone.
So Patrick, being his bro, he tries to help his friend rebuild his house. Because Minecraft told all of us that building a house is
Okay,
not a
facts.
big deal. Plus, he says he built his own.
All by myself.
Although taking into consideration
There goes
it's
the
just a
TV,
rock,
bro.
since he could transport it from one place to another, which honestly
Hey,
is more
hey,
reliable
boys,
than living under
why
a
do we
bridge.
actually got
So
that
that's a
on
point for
houses,
Patrick.
like
That tells us
northwest,
that he
east,
didn't
south?
pay a single
Why is that
dollar for the
actually on
house.
houses?
In the same episode, he also mentions that
Who
his
uses
parents
that?
kicked
Like,
him
is that still
out
a
and he
thing?
has never returned since.
me know in the
That means
comments,
that
let me know.
Patrick is invading the land since it doesn't belong to him. If we take a look inside of his crib, we'll see that it's not really a deluxe suite. It is very big,
you can't
and we're
be saying
going to
that
be
about-
left quite
you can't be saying
confused.
that about my
Since
man
he seems
Patrick.
to live like
His
a
house
meth addict,
low-key
but as the
be,
episodes
like,
go on, he
can't
seems to
talk
be a
about, like-
talented interior designer that went from playing Minecraft to The Sims, I guess. The first occasions we can see how the interior of his house is, well, completely empty. Later in the first season, we can see a brief scene from the episode 13 where his space is still quite limited, but he added an armchair as well as television and a small lamp, a recursive decoration that takes advantage
question
of
is,
the
like,
limitations.
I don't know, I
Although
wanna
this
know
is
the depth.
contradicted
Yeah, see,
later,
like,
in
in a
the
lot of
episodes I'm with
episodes, he's
Stupid,
just, like, a
when
little, like,
Patrick's
maybe-
parents write in a
That's, like,
letter
3 feet.
announcing that they're about to
But in
visit
some
him.
episodes,
Okay, so many queer people are
ain't
making
no
these
way we
huge
got the
strides,
Lil
but
Nas
it's a
X
fight.
ad, bro.
Hello,
That's
fam.
wild.
Here we can see that the interior of
That's
the
wild.
house is empty again, although it is more spacious.
It does
Maybe he
describe it,
learned
it's
to
like
dig
YouTube
sand.
Premium.
Curiously, it's Patrick himself who's molding his own furniture, making his own fridge, a water armchair, his television, even a mirror that again Minecraft told us that it is in fact made of sand. In future appearances inside Patrick's house, it looks different again, in some dominating arts of placement based
Ain't that
on
the
a
episode where
solid
they,
and well
adopt
applied
the,
feng
the
shui.
worm
But I will
together?
stop
Or the
explaining
clan?
all the different interior designs
The
before I
brown
start
ones?
liking winners. Leaving aside all the inconsistency, what's important here is that we see that Patrick's belongings never exceed the basic need, and the most expensive thing he probably has is his TV. So it is quite evident that our boy is pretty much broke. Or at least he lives that way, belonging to the lower class. Oh no, bro is one of us. Which he constantly depends on his friend SpongeBob. Since if we pay attention, most of the time Patrick appears making some expenditure, he's hanging out with his bestie, who is also his wallet, implying that Bob takes charge of managing his friend's expenses. Patrick is wise enough to know that if a friend doesn't give you value, you have to cut him off. That's why he asks for money all the time and uses SpongeBob's house as if it were his own home. Because that's what true friends do. We have an episode in which SpongeBob is unfairly fired
this guy's,
from the
like,
Krusty
somewhat
Krab,
accurate
so
and,
that
like,
Mr. Krabs can
somewhat
save a
inaccurate
few
in some
cents.
places.
From here, Bob tells Patrick that if he doesn't have money to buy his food, then Patrick won't be able to eat, leaving it clear that Patrick is totally dependent on Bob's salary. Star tries to cheer him up by showing him the beauty of being unemployed. He shows SpongeBob how he can survive without earning a cent.
Flashbacks.
So the next day our fatty friend shows him some untapped homeless type schemes to make some sense. One of those being to anger Squidward in his garden, so he ends up throwing food in their faces to get rid of them.
Get off my lawn!
Basically, getting food for free. What a hustlers!
Yeah,
The next entrepreneurial endeavor is to take SpongeBob to Sandy's place so they can have lunch with her. Although she gives them radioactive food, but hey, that's why they say never look a gift horse in the mouth. Here it is made more than clear that Patrick not only uses Bob to be able to get some food, but also tends to do the same with the other characters. I'm telling you, all of you are underestimating his intelligence.
Dude, imagine.
Okay,
Imagine
this
dudes
doesn't
like
mean that despite
big
his
brain and
stupidity, he is incapable of laboring for short periods
taking
of time,
bumming
and
out
as long
to a
as
whole
he
new
makes
level.
an effort, he seems to achieve what he wants without so many difficulties. A clear example is the time that SpongeBob was competing in the Fry Cook games. Patrick wanted to play there,
Fucking
but
beautiful.
SpongeBob tells him he needs to be a fry cook. And since Patrick has a very controversial opinion, he says that flipping burgers is easy, and after flaming each other,
Yellow, pink,
he's motivated to finally get a job. Who would have thought that verbal abuse was the solution for his laziness? Going so far as becoming an absolute unit of a gigachat. He has also collaborated with Mr. Krabs at the restaurant, being considered in more than one occasion when they need
Yeah,
an extra
a few
hand
times he's been
or even replacing
working there.
Bob himself. Although sometimes the result is not the best, but what matters is the attitude.
That's from the,
This seems to
award
indicate that from time to time he does manage to earn a few cents with small jobs spaced out, when the opportunity knocks the door, or when his bestie cannot fulfill some of his wins. For example, in the episode Pat No Pay, Patrick breaks
Where
into
is
the
this guy
establishment
getting
with a
his
serious
memes from,
problem.
bro?
He asked for more than 50 Krabby Patties for himself, and after he finished devouring all that food, the star didn't have any money to pay, so he had to pay with slaving physical labor such as mopping or throwing the garbage. In one more recent episode, Patrick is also seen
Oh,
trying to
that's a
finesse some
good one. Yeah,
free
I
ice
didn't see
cream
that.
at the
Like,
Goofy
yeah.
Goober, getting a free sample for each flavor.
Ah,
He gets
spoilers,
rightfully
dude.
kicked
My
out,
Paramount
but
Plus
he finds
declined.
out that Goofy Goober's employees get to eat all the ice cream they want on that job. So
I'm
he
probably
becomes a
I'm probably
goofy
gonna watch all the
newbie.
new seasons.
That sounds so
Just
silly.
to
But you have to say
eat
that
my
things ended up
tomato,
pretty bad
watch
for the Goofy
season,
Goobers and Mr.
14.
Krabs. But hey, at least he was hired. This shows us two things. He can get a job, but obviously he doesn't have a permanent job, and the why of his precarious situation. If we go full psychologist mode and we analyze his entire backstory and his surroundings, we find a poor, obese and unfortunate creature, a starfish whose parents kicked out of the house a few years ago and now lives under a simple rock with furniture made for himself and constantly needs the support of his friends to be able to survive. Wow, Patrick is a meth addict. But, hold on. Something that really
Shots
needs to be
fired.
mentioned is a Reddit theory that tells us that Patrick doesn't need to pay for any service because he is royalty.
I've heard this.
Oh,
I've heard this.
That's a plot twist. Since in an episode of the 4th season, Rule of Thumb, Patrick's family tree is revealed to us in detail. And here we not only learn that he is related with Gary, which is a bit crazy, but he is a descendant of former Bikini Bottom kings. And although Gary ends up being the rightful heir to the crown, by the end of the episode, he's never mentioned as a king again. Patrick resigned from this position because with a great responsibility comes a great power or whatever. So if this is correct, the next one on the list to govern would be Patrick's father. At least if we base ourselves on this important and reliable document. This turns Patrick in the sweet, cute prince of Bikini Bottom. And if the royalty under the sea resembles mainland a little,
I like it here. People are very friendly.
then Patrick Star wouldn't be one of us. He will have all
This
his
guy,
expenses
I gotta
covered
see his
due
computer.
to
He
his
must have
ties
just
to
a
the royal
folder
family.
of, like,
Acting silly and
goofy,
destroying
out-of-pocket
everything he
memes.
touches has nothing to do with him being a trust fund baby that satisfied all his cravings. Another theory says that since Patrick has a license to fish, whoa, that's crazy. That would be a license to murder certain people. That means fish. Many say he provides meat to the Sean bucket or that the Krabby Patties come from there. But due to his evident poverty and that he is very stupid, I doubt he gets his bread that way. So I don't think this theory has much truth. He's just living that homeless lifestyle, rarely getting some money on his own in the few jobs that he has managed to obtain, but that he always ends up in almost domestic terrorism. That's why usually nobody wants to hire him. Sandy and Squidward sometimes may have ended up paying for some things. His parents may help him with some belongings, but they are not in charge of looking after him. so all his expenses are mostly covered by SpongeBob. But if Mr. Krabs barely pays him any money, why is SpongeBob rich? How much does he actually make? If you want to rest this night and find out those answers, check out this video. Thanks for watching.
Amazon is overcharged.
10 likes, and we'll watch it. We'll watch the SpongeBob, how much money SpongeBob makes. I'm DopeFishMan, and I'll see y'all later, man.